This is episode 1 of the Bible Explained Like I'm 5. The Bible is made of 2 testaments, the Old Testament and the New Testament. We're starting in the New Testament because the New Testament is where Jesus comes into play. The Old Testament is before Jesus. It's dealing mostly with the 2,000 years before Jesus and the Jews and how they should be worshiping God, but we're not going to deal with that today. We're starting in the New Testament. The New Testament is made up of 27 books. The first 4 books are the Gospels. What is the Gospel? Gospel means good news. What is the good news? I'm going to just overview the good news, but I'll get into all the parts of it over time. The good news. God sent his Son to earth in the form of Jesus Christ to come and live a sinless life and be unjustly crucified on a cross by the Romans so that he can die, defeat death by rising again in 3 days, so that anyone who believes that he did that will be saved and can go to heaven with him. So that is the gospel. That's what Christians are sharing. That is salvation. Okay, so the first 4 books of the 27 books are the Gospels. These are direct accounts of Jesus' teachings, his life on earth. These are the only 4 books in the Bible that are going to have red text. Red text is where Jesus is speaking, because these are the only books from the perspective of his life on earth as you're reading through it. Okay, so there's the book of Matthew, there's the book of Mark, there's the book of Luke, and there's the book of John. Those are the 4 Gospels. Matthew and John are 2 of the 12 disciples. We'll get into that later. Luke was a doctor, and Mark was another disciple, but not one of the original 12. So before Matthew was a disciple, he was a tax collector, which is one of the most despised people amongst Jews at this time, arguably more than the Romans, because they are betraying their own people. You know, the Romans aren't the Jews, but a Jew that becomes a tax collector is betraying their own people. So as you're going through the Bible, keep that in mind. That tax collectors, you don't think about it like you would think about the IRS now. Tax collectors are the lowest of low. It's despised, detested, okay? Jesus is trying to tell us something very big right off the bat. He's going to take the most seemingly unfit people to spread his word. So you got Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Matthew, Mark, and Luke are called the Synoptic Gospels. They're very similar. The storylines are very similar. The way you read through it is very similar. John is written a bit differently. His is very personal. He's really highlighting how glorious Jesus is. There's lots of in-depth conversation. So we got this. The New Testament starts at Jesus' birth and is everything after. The Old Testament is everything before. 4 Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. After the Gospels, we have the book of Acts. The book of Acts is a historical book. It's telling you everything that the early church was doing. The early church was going around spreading the good news, building the church, making more disciples, spreading the good news. It's all the historical accounts of that. After the book of Acts, we have letters. So these are written a lot differently. The first letter is Romans. Another big name that we're going to come across is Paul, and we'll explain who Paul is later. But Paul has written a lot of these letters. So letters to the Romans, letters to the Corinthians. Timothy, he's writing to a beloved disciple of his. These are just personal letters that he's writing that we can get so much teaching from in how we should be as a church, how we should be spreading the gospel. We have a lot of letters from Paul. We have some letters from other people, other disciples, some from the 12 disciples. And then the very last book is the book of Revelation. There's a lot of artistic imagery. It seems a bit crazy. The first time you read it, it's probably going to be very hard to digest. And this is just explaining Jesus' second coming, right? So he came the first time, lived a sinless life, died on the cross, ascended to heaven, and he's going to come back. And that's going to be it for this world. But he's building a new world. And that new world is going to be perfect. There is not going to be any sin. There is not going to be any sorrow. There's going to be no anger. There's going to be no death. That's Revelation. It's everything that has to do with his second coming. Before we even get into the book of Matthew, now we understand what we're looking at. The New Testament, 4 Gospels, 1 historical book, 21 letters, and the prophetic end times book of Revelation. Okay. So next episode, I'm going to start actually getting into Matthew. Now that we have an overview, I'm going to start getting into Matthew and explaining Matthew's gospel of Jesus. Leave any questions you have. It doesn't matter how stupid you think it is. There are no stupid questions because all questions lead us to Jesus. So ask anything and I'll try my best to answer it.